What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the DSM Media YouTube channel. I'm your host at Scotty Drown. On today's episode of Scotty Talks NBA, you can see I'm accompanied by a very special guest, Zach Noble. What we're going to get into today, we're going to talk all NBA offseason. We're going to start from the top with the Bradley Beal trade that just happened yesterday. So it's still fresh. And we're going to go from there and just dig into it all. Zion rumors, Dame rumors. We'll get into all of it in just 10 seconds here. Bear with me. All right. Getting used to some new tricks and new things with the channel here, Zach. So don't mind me. I got a new intro. I got a new page going for all the NBA content. It's not yet live yet. So if you guys are subscribed over there, this show won't be airing on there today. It'll actually re-air on the Scotty Talks NBA YouTube channel tomorrow. But nonetheless, we're trying to get all of the NBA content to a more specified, more targeted audience. So separate the NBA content from the Philly content and, see where it takes us from there. But I want to welcome very special guests, of course, my good friend, Zach Noble, here to talk some NBA offseason, my man. How are you doing on this fine Monday?
Doing awesome. Beautiful day. My health is getting better. Had a good Father's Day and excited to talk about trade bombs and the offseason. Nothing better. It's always electric, my man.
It is. It really is always electric because it's hypotheticals, and I think hypotheticals are fun to get into, right? They're endless, and you can go as far as your imagination goes. So
No,
let's get
man,
started right
our
at the
dreams
top.
run wild here.
No, exactly. Let's get started right at the top, man, because I know you have some strong feelings about this Bradley Beal trade. Obviously, Bradley Beal is going to Phoenix to play with KD, Devin Booker, and company. Gets traded for Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, a monsoon of second-round picks and some pick swaps that, from my understanding, don't really mean much. So I'm interested. Let's start right there. That Bradley Beal deal. How low, how weak of a package it was in return for Bradley Beal. Do you think it was weak? Where are you at with this deal, my man?
Oh, it was the Father's Day special for sure. Bartelstein to Bartelstein. It's crazy how that happened and unfolded, but Matt Ishbia continues to make splashes.
Yes.
He's just playing 2K right now, as some of these new owners do, which is a lot of fun. And I'm all about stacking super teams. I just hate when one team gets really screwed over, in my opinion. But it all started back when the Wizards kept wanting to chase the 8th seed, and Bradley Beal was just kind of on the fence forever and just be like, I'm kind of loyal. Maybe I'll bounce this year, maybe. And then when his 5-year deal is up, he's like, oh, of course I'm staying. Pay me everything. I need the no trade clause. How does a top 25 player get a no trade clause is the first question. And I'm a Bradley Beal respecter. I'm not a Bradley Beal hater. I'm not obsessed with this game. I feel like I treat him properly, but man, if you could have got him for that, I feel like if he didn't have the no trade clause, everybody and their mother should have been after this guy.
Yeah.
So first of all, it comes back to the Wizards malpractice. I mean, that's just terrible GMing from the beginning. A guy with a no trade clause has to be a world beater. I mean, you got to be a top 5 guy at that. And if that's what it comes down to, you trade him. You know how much even 30, 40 million for one player is? It's like there's people debating that Bradley Beal is the worst contract, and rightfully so a little bit, but like Bradley Beal is still an amazing player. He just had a career high in 2-point percentage. He does a little bit of everything, but like when he's at his peak, some people argue he's a top 15 guy that can lead you with a shit roster to an 8 seed, but like that's up for debate. Okay. Right. I've always said he's been a third, maybe second best player.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how Kevin Durant just seems to finagle his way to the best teams of all time and just keeps getting better somehow, but I don't know. I tend to lean towards if I'm the Wizards, I say no to that deal until you can at least get one first round pick. But like, there's the sunk fallacy cost. You know what that means? Basically, a lot of people have that problem in their finances. A lot of people have that in retrospective and history and whatnot. But like, you can't make up for your past mistakes, essentially. I mean, that's where the Wizards were at in this juncture. I mean, a new GM, he basically told him to clean this thing, start from scratch. And so there's Wizards fans that I respect. They're still hanging around, that they're okay with
kudos to them,
doing this deal. But like, I'd rather tell Bradley Beal to just suck it up, man. You're playing for us, and then versus losing him for zero like this, because one, he can sell tickets. Two, I mean, I just think your team is going to be better with Bradley Beal than nothing. Like, I'd rather have that and try to build around him, because it's not like the Wizards know how to draft anyways.
Right. And it doesn't make sense, man, from the Wizards' perspective. You know, you just look back on everything that happened with this whole Bradley Beal situation, giving him the super max. It's like you could have predicted that this would happen like a year ago. Like, you could literally, it was predicted that Bradley Beal would go through this season, lollygag around. Season wouldn't mean much. He obviously breaks his hand. That's a reason to go sit out for the rest of the year. And then you get to the offseason, first things first. It's like the Wizards, it's like they did him a favor, right? Like, you give him the super max,
favor ever.
Give him the extra money, then you give him a no trade clause so he can control wherever he wants to go afterwards. And it doesn't matter what you get in return. That was like a death sentence for the Wizards, man. And you know, it is unprecedented. Just the logicality of a no trade clause. Like, that has to be the last no trade clause in like NBA history, right? It won't ever happen again. Like, that just it was unreal to me. Now, mind you, as a Sixers fan, from that perspective, I'm happy he didn't go to Miami. But do you think that Phoenix was the only, like, you think it was just Phoenix for Bradley Beal? Like, he was hell bent on getting there. That's the only place he would have waived his trade clause for.
I truly think so. Yeah, I think it really just came down to Phoenix. And when I tweeted out like a couple of days ago when they rumored Bradley Beal was ready to get moved finally, it was the most assured blessing of Bradley Beal to finally say trade me. So they gave him his blessing. I'm like, think about this. You got Devin Booker and Kevin Durant on one hander, Bam and Jimmy on the other. I'm choosing KD and Devin Booker.
Yeah, that's fair.
Bar none. I don't care what the other pieces are. Like, sure, you can argue about the results that have been had, but like KD at his peak, I mean, he's winning titles, and I definitely think it's a weird fit. Okay, we can get into that in a little bit, but
let's get into that, because that's the real question, right? Is how does Bradley Beal fit with two movement shooters, elite scorer? Like, how does he fit into that puzzle?
I think the biggest thing that people forget to recognize is like Bradley Beal. I mean, one is still really good. Okay. I mean, it's just his 3-point percentage. Is that going to come back? But he's never been the playmaker passer his statistics say. I mean, he averaged at 6 assists at his peak, but that's just because he was on a shit team and he was in charge of handling the ball quite a bit. I mean, there's been plenty of guys to do that on an all-time offense for sure. But like, it's an all mid-range team, as Marshawn here is saying. But like, these guys, I mean, don't need a lot of usage. Okay, they're all great off ball. They're all tremendous, just catch and shoot guys. I mean, the mid-range, when you're late in the playoffs, I mean, you need the mid-range. It's super important. I mean, look how far Jimmy Butler made it because of that. Just countless guys, you name it. But like the Nuggets were a prime example as well. It was huge for them. But it comes down to none of these guys. Like, they don't have James Harden, okay? James Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant, flawless fits, okay? the mental side of it, the egos, get them out of there.
Yeah,
not thinking about that right now.
Yeah.
I'm trusting Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant's egos to be way better than probably any trio Kevin Durant's ever been a part of, to be honest.
Yeah.
So the mental aspect is going to be the best of it. But like the play-wise fit, like none of these guys are great passers or playmakers. And so who are you going to drum that up for? I don't know, $5 million in today's market? Like maybe Chris Paul on a buyout coming back, but I don't even know if that's possible anymore with the CBA. And Chris seems a little pissed off right now. So,
right. Because they're basically just subbing him out.
I'd have to think pretty hard on that. Yeah. Cam Payne is probably their point guard going forward. And I think Cam Payne sucks. I think we've talked about this. Like, dude's terrible. He's not even an NBA player to me. So unless you got any good ideas.
What about Derrick Rose? Any interest there?
I mean, that's a good one. But like, can you fit that into your cap, sending somebody out? And
what does that look like?
Right. That's a great.
I got a question for you too. Like, what does this look like under Frank Vogel? Like, do you trust him to get the most out of a team with this caliber of talent?
Defensively, this is where like Frank Vogel is cool. Like, because these guys need to find a way to play defense. Like KD's defense has declined so much over the last 3 years. Bradley Beal was only a positive on defense for maybe 1 year. Devin Booker, I'd say, is slightly positive on defense. And
when he tries, when he wants to.
Right, exactly. And it's been in the playoffs at times. And it's kind of like you look at the Nuggets, they found a way to be great defensively.
Yeah.
When they weren't very good all year. They were like just turned a switch on from Murray and Jokic becoming positive defenders and good enough, or whatever you want to call them. But they became a top 10 defense in the playoffs. So these guys have the athleticism and the ability to do that. So Frank Vogel, I mean, I think he's going to have a pretty free-flowing offense. I don't think we're going to expect something pretty and shiny. It's just going to be a lot of ISO play. And I think the defensive side is going to be really important. And I think it all comes down to his buy-in with DeAndre Ayton, honestly.
I know that's what's interesting, because you think about Frank Vogel, you think about Roy Hibbert, right, back in Indiana.
There you go.
You think about Anthony Davis, obviously, in LA. What does he do with DeAndre Ayton amongst this group, right? And no CP3, that was a large part of DeAndre Ayton's production.
Yep. So it's funneling everything towards Ayton. I mean, Torrey Craig's going to become very valuable. Josh Okogie is still a great piece, but it's like, those guys, I mean, who are you subbing out? I mean, you need a point guard there, and it's going to be those four there. So, you want a point guard who can defend and distribute. So that's going to be interesting.
My biggest thing is like, it looks great if they're all healthy all the time, right? Like, if they're throughout the regular season, they're able to stay healthy for the most part, to where maybe they can fluctuate one guy having an off night. Maybe you give KD the night off, bring D-Book and Bradley Beal in to take the floor that night. But the writings on the wall as far as the injury history here, obviously KD of late, and then you have Bradley Beal, who obviously has been dealing with injuries the last 2 seasons at least. He's dealt with them throughout his career in reality, but specifically the last 2 seasons, only played 90 games total. So how can you rely on him? You know what I mean? How can you look to rely on these 3 players for the entirety of a season? In the playoffs, I think it could work as long as they get there in a good spot.
You think about Embiid, you think about Chris Paul, you think about LeBron. We call these guys injury-prone guys over the last 4 or 5 years. Well, Bradley Beal has been worse than CP in games played by almost half over the last 5 years. KD has played in less games than LeBron. And so these guys just somehow fly under the radar, even though like Bradley Beal has been irrelevant for a while just because he's in Washington. And Suns don't have a first-round pick till 2030, so this has got to freaking work. But at the same time,
do you blame them for doing it though? Like you have to go all in after the
you're ready
KD
all in
trade,
on
right?
KD. You're ready all in on KD. So maybe you get a first back for DeAndre Ayton and roll out Bismack Biyombo as your center.
Right.
And then hopefully get a point guard back in an Ayton trade. That's what because I personally think Ayton is $32 million is pretty worthless. I'd rather get
a team like this, especially.
Yeah, 2 guys back. I don't know, maybe like could you swing a Drew Holiday if you want to go really crazy? Have him run your point, and then there's your defense there.
If Brook Lopez ultimately leaves Milwaukee, if he heads somewhere else, then yeah, why not? If you're Milwaukee, you're trying to run it back with Giannis and kind of retool. DeAndre Ayton would be a viable option, and he's young. Like, and it kind of makes sense in reality. And then you keep Bobby Portis. That's like your floor spacer. So, yeah, I could see that. That's an interesting thought.
DeAndre Ayton would have to probably go another way in like a 3-team deal.
Yeah.
Because think about DeAndre Ayton next to Giannis. That's disgusting.
That's a sticky fit, man. I don't know. Now that you think back, because the thing about Brook Lopez is the fact that he can space the floor. You would almost rather have Brook Lopez. You would rather have Brook Lopez back than DeAndre Ayton. So I'm with you there. Now, you brought up Denver, and this is an interesting topic. And obviously, I saw on Twitter you got some pushback for your thoughts on Denver and kind of the narrative around how they got to where they are, right? Like, as far as them growing their own talent and developing it. You got some pushback from a Twitter follower saying basically they bring in KCP, Aaron Gordon, Bruce Brown from outside the organization. How is that homegrown? When you look at that, one, do you want to talk about how you do feel that Denver is a homegrown product that got them to this championship? And then two, let me put it this way, is there a set model that you need to follow in order to win an NBA championship? Or is it kind of you just got to get lucky? You can follow probably either path if you have the resources to do it. As far as going super team or homegrown, just kind of keeping your draft picks, building your team up from the draft itself. What are your thoughts there just around that Denver Nuggets and then kind of the model of Brooklyn, Phoenix teams of late?
Yeah, so, I mean, it's the preferred route from fans, I think, right now, like just the way these players' personalities change and the unpredictableness and just like the relationship between a fan and a player is just so much closer when that player is drafted by your team and you watch him develop. Like my favorite part about the NBA is watching players progress, like development is literally my favorite part about following the league closely and just watching the progress and the grind of these dudes. But it takes a little bit of both, honestly, because it's such a transactional game. But at the end of the day, like the Nuggets are as homegrown as it gets. I mean, yes, no team's going to have 1 through 12 entirely drafted. It's just impossible to hit that many times over and over, even though the Nuggets, I mean, did it on such a high level by getting all these steals. They're a team literally built of steals. So same with the Miami Heat a little bit, but Jimmy Butler, their best player, was a transaction. So literally the Nuggets are the only team besides the Warriors of the last so many years to be like
that's very
classified as homegrown, in my opinion. Toronto Raptors, sure, you could say predominantly, but their most important player, Kawhi. was a transaction. So I don't really count that one because they're not even in the discussion if Kawhi isn't there.
Exactly.
But the Bucks, I mean, that's up for debate because their best player, Giannis, but like Giannis doesn't get out of the second race closer to Embiid if he doesn't have Middleton and Drew there and healthy. I mean, it's just you need at the end of the day, you need either a great fitting team. I always say that it's the same formula it's been for 10, 15 years now. It's either needs to be a perfectly fitting team or the talent needs to exceed the fit. And that's obviously what the Suns are going for, just exceeding the fit, which it can work. The Nets were incredible when they played together. I mean, 16-4, whatever it was, 18-4. It's just a little bad luck on injuries, and then they just got frustrated and it didn't work. Like I'm a firm believer. If you can go for it and figure it out later. Like, the Nets are actually in not that bad of a position. Mikal Bridges is a great starting block. You have some first. It's how can you fill out the rest of the roster? But like, there's people out there that literally think like Cam Thomas is putting up equal stats as Bradley Beal last year. That's
come on, man.
Seriously, I have it right here. Like, per 36 last year, Cam Thomas actually put up better stats than Bradley Beal last year, across the board. But per 36 is a little crazy at times.
Paul Reed would be the best power forward in the NBA per 36, right? Like, that's, yeah.
But at the same time, like, Cam Thomas, like, just proved he wasn't a winner. Same with Bradley Beal. So, like, when Cam Thomas got let loose, like, I thought he got held hostage like no other come towards the end of the year, and it just deflated him. Like, Cam Thomas actually proved his worth, and I like Cam Thomas, staunch Cam Thomas guy. But it's just crazy, like, how you try to put things into perspective with this Bradley Beal deal. But like, I'm a firm believer if you can get a guy that's still at his prime, which I think he is, 30. I think he's going to be rejuvenated. I truly do. It's just the games played is what scares me. If that's your only hesitation on him, and then already having Kevin Durant, who is super injury prone, then I understand. But like, the end of the contract gets Beal to 34, 35. The way he plays, if he can't muster up 60 plus games, like, it's a sad story. It's just fucked up, you know? It's like,
it would be sad to see a player like decline literally like that, because
I personally think he missed a lot of time. Yeah, exactly. I personally think he missed a lot of time just because he didn't want to play.
Yeah.
Because he said he could. Right. I can go on vacation. I can build my family, and you're still going to pay me $70 million a year. Sick.
Like, you're relying on Kyle Kuzma to be your number 2. Like, I like Kyle Kuzma, but like number 2, I don't know. You talked about going
never Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Number 2, Kyle Kuzma. I don't know about that, but you talked about teams going all in and how you would basically you would rather do that than not have a chance at all. And I tend to agree with you. Obviously, I was coming out of the season heated about the Sixers. Obviously, you know, I've had my talks with you in and out about that situation. Marshawn Lynch mentioned it earlier here in the comments. There's growing belief around the league that Harden will remain with the Sixers instead of joining the Rockets or another team. He says this concerns him about this front office. I think that's an interesting comment, because I wouldn't say that it concerns me at this point. If they would have told me this at the beginning of the offseason, and that, you know, the Sixers are not going to be interested in Fred VanVleet, the Sixers are not going to be interested in Bradley Beal, I would have looked at that kind of crazy. But seeing how everything's played out, obviously Bradley Beal, you would take him for Tobias, right? Like, I would do that. But at the same time, you know, people are looking at the Suns like they're crazy right now for taking Bradley Beal on that team. I think it would ultimately be a better fit. But once again, it didn't seem like it would ever work out that cleanly for the Philadelphia 76ers in that situation. Fred VanVleet wants over $30 million a year. Like, I'm not paying that to Fred VanVleet, rather than giving Harden what he wants to have him back for 2 to 3 more years. So my opinion has kind of changed on the situation, just given the way the market is going. I'm interested in your thoughts here. Let me start here. Did you ever believe that Harden would go back to Houston? Like, do you think that was real, or do you think that it still is real?
So I've always known Harden is basically his own. He doesn't have an agent. Okay. Like, he's played it pretty good to have this much smoke, all these places, without having an agent and without like people questioning him on this. And like, kudos to James Harden, man. Like, he should have been called on his bullshit a long, long time ago. Like, he doesn't control a whole lot, because it doesn't seem like there's a ton of suitors out there for him, nor does it seem like there's a ton of places he wants to go. The only The only part he really messed up on is saying like he wanted to go to 20 different teams. That's what he should have done. He should have said, I'm interested in all these teams, because maybe he might have had some more suitors, because the Phoenix thing disappeared pretty quickly. If they're choosing 6 year or 5 years, I think it's a lot. It's like 4 to 5 years on Bradley Beal at a boatload of money, which is going to be more than what Harden's making, which that's a no-brainer for the Sixers. Stay out of that, because you're still in the James Harden running, and then you still might have a shot at Dame here. Like, it seemed like Dame, like, there's a little smoke in Philly. I feel that, and it's worth the wait. As for the Tobias thing, like, if you're talking me out of watching Tobias expire or bringing Bradley Beal, I'm still taking Beal, because, I mean, I think Embiid's got like 3 years left of his prime. I really believe that, like, to be safe. Like, his window's now. You got to win now. Go all in now. But no, I never believed James Harden's going to Houston until it happens. Like, Philly was good enough this year. They really were. Just fucked up. Just shit didn't happen. Like,
do you think because there's been a lot of talk, there's a lot of speculation, obviously now with Harden potentially coming back, seems like he's going to come back. Tobias Harris, it seems like the writing's on the wall as far as him getting traded. But is there any world where the Sixers just run this back with this same team, maybe a few add-ons here and there, right, through free agency, mid-level, veteran minimums, stuff like that? Obviously, they have to field a team. But do they run it back, with the likes of George Niang, Paul Reed, try to get Jalen McDaniels back and re-sign him? Is there a world where they do that, and that is the best case scenario, rather than trading Tobias? Or after what you've seen Bradley Beal go for, in terms of you have to get rid of him to get rid of that contract, whereas Tobias is kind of on the other end, where you bring him in and that money's gone from your books next season. So do you believe that there is a world where the Sixers just can't find a deal for Tobias Harris? And I do have a couple deals to present to you just to see your thoughts as well.
Awesome. So my thing is, like, before this current CBA, a lot of teams wanted that cap space to have, like, that's partly why the Gobert trade happened, to have that max space, like, to be able to continue to trade that on and on and on. Like, if this CBA was in place, that Gobert deal would never happen. Never would happen. So we got screwed a year too late. Fuck my life. But with the Sixers, you got Nick Nurse. That's huge. That's a big one in itself. Like, that's a big change. Like, before about midway last year, like I said, Nick Nurse was the best coach in the league. I still believe he's top 5 for sure. And he's got potential to be the best coach in the league now with this roster. But as an outsider, like, I still would be a bit disappointed if they ran this thing back and didn't at least add one decent piece. I'm not talking something monumental. Like there's
a
no
new
way,
starter, maybe like a new starter.
A starter. Like, there's no way. Like, I'll be way more disappointed if Maxi's minutes doesn't go up a bit, and Jalen McDaniels, Paul Reed, and mainly Melton. If Melton's minutes aren't up, that's going to really bother me because I almost guarantee Maxi's will be. But I'm not guaranteeing all those things happen. So with that, I would say trade Tobias. Either save the money there, and then I'd rather elevate D'Anthony Melton than those other guys like we're talking about here to Tobias minutes, and sure, focus on that. Or hopefully you can get a piece in. Maybe, like, if trades are happening like this, who knows what you can get with that Tobias number. Like, I think these Sixers owners are willing to pay the cost. I mean, especially if you're going to pay Harden, like, you got to go all, like, maybe you can get a Siakam. Maybe you can get Harrison Barnes plus. Maybe you can get Jeremy Grant, something like that. Or just
new.
Anything new that fills that slot. Bojan Bogdanovic would be insane. Like, it doesn't take much to fill the void I'm talking about here, but like all I know is Tobias ain't it. Like we've seen this. Like we know it's just like Rudy in Minnesota. Like Cat's got to go. Like it's the same story in Philly. And the only way that will change my mind is if the other guys on the bench become really elevated, and it's not like many teams use their bench.
At that point, you're asking bench players to make up for your $39 million guy, right? So like that's like you said, it's pointless. I got a couple deals to present to you. You tell me what you think. I think all of them. I'll be honest with you, Zach. I would do all of them. So I'm interested to see how you feel if you would ultimately do some of these. The first one I have is with the Washington Wizards, a team that now we would expect are going to continue to sell their players, right? And try to, I guess you would call it tanking. They didn't get any draft picks, so I don't know if you would call it that. But looking at Tobias Harris, Jaden Springer in a 2029 first-round pick for a sign and trade for Kyle Kuzma and Corey Kispert. What do you think about that? Obviously, Kyle Kuzma, you're gonna have to take him for 2 to 3 more years at least, right?
Okay. Kuzma's number at that for 3 more years. What is he making? Like 25-ish? But yeah, that's a no-brainer for me because you're getting Kispert back in the deal as well.
Right. I like
it's not like an A+, but it's a B+, probably a B. Kuzma, as long as I got it right here. Oh, what the?
13 million last year, but he would have to sign a new contract. He would have to opt in.
Player option.
And then sign it.
So either he declines this, which I think he's going to. So
yeah,
it would either have to be a sign and trade, which probably would be the case.
Trades, because like you said, if I'm him, if I'm Kristaps Porzingis, I'm opting out if you're not going to trade me. So
right, I'd be fine with Kristaps or Kuzma in Philly, to be honest. Like both would be sick there.
Kristaps is a weird fit, but I am open to it, man. It's just weird enough that I would try it. I don't want to have like these nightmare revisits of like Al Horford or anything, but I'm interested because he's a much better shooter. I would say.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Kuzma would be a way better fit. Depends on the number for Kuzma. It really does.
Yeah.
If for some reason you can get him to that 13 million, that's not happening.
Sure. Yeah, if you could do that, absolutely. It is interesting though. The Kyle Kuzma fit, because I think you bring Harden back. If you're re-signing him, I think Kyle Kuzma would fit seamlessly. Mind you, almost everybody does fit seamlessly with Harden as long as they can shoot and finish at the rim. But I just think he would
Embiid fit.
Think he would eat next to Harden. Embiid is interesting, but I think that Kuzma could help just with the energy. Hitting the boards, offensive rebounding, just not giving up on plays in a sense. But it would take that. I guess the concern for me would be, Kuzma and PJ Tucker. Like, do they start next to each other? I mean, it could work. You just keep PJ Tucker in the corner. But they're very. I almost would want Kuzma in that PJ Tucker role, if that makes sense. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think Kuzma would get his 3-point percentage the highest it's ever been. I'd almost guarantee that. Yeah. But like, is it going to be high enough to be worth his number? That's my question.
That's the question. He's going to be asked to shoot threes. That's what they're going to want him to do.
Yeah, that's going to be his most important role. And rebounding is going to be critical for him, which both those things he can do. But 3-point percentage is terrible right now. Like he's only had one good year of shooting the 3 ball, to be honest, maybe 2 if you want to say that. But
he gets them up too, I believe. He gets them up. At least in Washington, he was letting those things fly. It's
careful what you wish for with Tobias.
I know. That's exactly what I'm thinking as we talk back through it. So you talk about shooting being the most important kind of skill set that they need to bring when you're playing beside Maxey, Harden, and Embiid, right? The Indiana Pacers. That's a team that has been rumored as far as being interested in a wing/forward type of player. Don't know if Tobias Harris is your guy there, but nonetheless, he would bring some experience, at least some playoff experience, if they're trying to get a play-in type of seed with Tyrese Halliburton and Mathurin in there. But this trade, Tobias Harris and Furkan Korkmaz for TJ McConnell, Buddy Hield, and a 2023 second-round pick. Buddy Hield being the key piece there.
Yeah, TJ and Maxey is fun at times. I think TJ would be sick next to Maxey, to be honest. But Buddy Hield, you'd have to figure out that 4 slot. You need a little more defense at the 4. I'd want a little bigger defense than PJ Tucker. Yeah, because Buddy doesn't cover that where I'm looking for. I do it just because you're extending a smaller contract than Buddy Hield and you're getting another year or two. So that's why I would do the deal. But it's close to the first one. It is just because I don't know Kuzma's number.
Right.
But yeah, I'd say they're pretty equal.
Yeah. If you had to pick one out of the first two, which one would it be?
I definitely go the Indiana one just because I think Kuzma's number is going to be stupid.
Yeah. I tend to agree with you there, especially given the players that are going to be available this offseason, right? And he's going to be considered one of the better ones that is going to be available. The next one is with the Dallas Mavericks. So we have Tobias Harris for Davis Bertans and Tim Hardaway Jr. in a 2025 second-round pick. So Bertans and Hardaway Jr. in a second-round pick.
Yeah, I'm processing that, man. I do not like that at all. That can go throw that in the trash.
I feel you. It's honestly the Bertans thing, man. I like Tim Hardaway Jr. as like a scoring punch off the bench type of thing, but Bertans, that's the thing that really detracts it for me. Yeah.
If it was the Wizards Bertans, maybe I probably would have said yes at that stage, but still the money's too much, and I'd just rather Tobias go off the books next year.
Yeah, I agree with you there. You would just keep Tobias in this situation, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing with THJ
has 2 years. Tim Hardaway Jr. has 2 years left on his. They're both making the same amount of money, which is like 19 million. So,
and I like Tobias's defense on the Sixers more.
Yeah.
Just add some girth.
Yeah, see, now this is something, I'd be more interested in possibly like a Maxi Kleber, Reggie Bullock. If you could somehow do that, maybe that costs you like Tobias Harris and Jaden Springer or something, or Tobias Harris in a future first. I don't know. I don't know what this money's looking like, though. I don't know what Kleber makes. I don't know what Bullock makes either.
I think that's more ideal. I mean, Kleber, I'd prefer him over Paul Reed, or just to have both dispensable there. But just because he spreads the floor out and he can play next to Embiid a little bit, Bullock would be great. I would definitely like that. I think that money matches up. Let me see.
Do you have to add anything with Tobias? I guess would be the question too.
I mean, honestly, I think that's an upgrade for Dallas, and I think they would do it to try it out for a year.
Yeah.
For those three, like one is shooting, scoring punch. It's just those guys, they're not losing much defense, and Bullock, I mean,
had a Furkan Korkmaz on there.
Yeah, I think that could get done. Honestly, I had the Mavs down as one of the the spots for Toby.
Yeah, I do. I kind of like that fit. Like if you like a fit on a playoff team, that's one of the better ones for Tobias, at least.
Like I would do that in a heartbeat for the Sixers. It's just the Mavs side of it.
Doesn't work.
As long as they bring in defense somehow, it's like
Yeah,
Reggie Bullock was still semi-important there, but his defense has regressed a little bit.
progressed a little bit. See, and that's what I'm looking at bringing him in. You would look at him to be that 3-and-D guy, right? Like Tim Hardaway Jr. is the microwave. Bullock is supposed to be that 3-and-D guy that you would add there. So if he's not bringing the defensive side of it, then it's
I think he would in Philly, though. No, I think he would in Philly, though. Could be better with the
need, too.
I think he's still, like, I don't think he's lost anything physically, so it's like just needs a belief in his role, and like that's what they'd be pounding him on, is his defense, and I think Nick Nurse would get that out of him for sure.
What about so this one's simple. What about Tobias Harris in a second-round pick? I don't remember the year of it. I think it was like 2025. Tobias Harris in a second-round pick for Bogdanovich from Detroit.
Oh, done. Yeah,
no brainer,
done.
Right?
Yeah,
he's going to give you more. He brings experience as well, but he's a better shooter, I would say. At least from
and
three.
He's clutch, dude.
Yeah.
He's clutch, and he's not afraid of the moment at all.
Yeah.
And he doesn't need to dribble and back down people like Toby does at times. And Toby's scared of the moment. I really believe that.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing there. That's the biggest detractor, because it's not like you're getting a younger guy or anything like that, but you're getting a guy that could probably play Tobias's role just a lot better, I would say. Interesting thought here. So it's kind of moving into our next topic, which is Zion Williamson. There was an ESPN mock trade. Now, I personally don't think, and I wonder if you agree, I don't think that it's realistic at all. I think it was like Tobias Harris, Furkan Korkmaz, and Jaden Springer for like Zion Williamson and Trey Murphy III. It's funny, man, that ESPN came up with this because, Zion's an interesting topic. That's a polarizing topic. He's a polarizing player. Trey Murphy III to be included in that as like a throw-in piece is just insane to me, because I love that. I love that player. I love the idea of him on the Sixers specifically. But when you ultimately look, everything okay?
Almost died on you again. Sorry.
Oh, gotcha. All right. I saw you scrambling around there. So when you think about Zion Williamson, that package that they idealize there, is that something that you would ever be interested in if you're the Sixers and say you did have the opportunity to get Zion Williamson in the building with literally Joel Embiid? Like, what does that fit look like? I'm just curious what you thought of that mock trade.
I know you're a Duke guy and you still have fantasies about Zion, but man, I'm taking Harden still over Zion.
That was a Harden sign and trade. You are right.
It was.
So
yeah.
I
get it.
I feel you.
I get it. God, that's just takes everything away from Zion. I'm trying to think of who that's like. Oh, I mean, it's basically like the downgrade of Kevin Love from Minnesota to Cleveland. But there's another one I had in mind it's such a big downgrade, where the guy just gets downgraded like no other, put in the corner or whatnot. But yeah. Trey Murphy III, like, he's the perfect guy. Of course, you're missing piece in your lineup if you have him.
Why would they ever trade him, though?
Right. I mean, he's still got so much more to go. I don't know. That 29 first, there's no pieces to get him. I'm sorry. I think got to put that one around.
Trust me, I don't think that's realistic. I thought it was an interesting thing that ESPN would even propose that. Maybe a better question for you to make it a little bit clearer, so it's not like James Harden versus Zion or anything. Looking at what the New Orleans Pelicans are interested in doing and ultimately trading Zion Williamson for that second or third pick in the draft. Ultimately, it sounds like they want Scoot. What are your thoughts there? Do you value that second or third pick in the draft over Zion at this point, given his injury history on top of the shenanigans of late? What are your thoughts there?
That's the right question. I love that. I love those type of questions. And me personally, I'm Scoot over Zion. I'm not Brandon Miller over Zion yet. But
so it'd have to be the second pick.
Yeah, I understand either way. I understand either way because there's so many people on Brandon Miller yet. But to me, it's a tier difference between those two. Scoot's a clear number 2 for me. I think he's got superstar potential. But it's just you got CJ and Brandon Ingram there that I mean, Scoot can fit literally with anybody. I truly believe that. That's why I think him and LaMelo is a great fit. Just because
that's exciting.
LaMelo's length. It's like they don't have defense anyway. So Brandon Miller, I still believe in PJ Washington a little bit, but that's not why I wouldn't draft Brandon Miller, not for a second. But I go the best available always.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm with you. Let me ask you this. So when you think about the second or third pick, if the Pelicans were open to trading them, trading Zion for those picks, LaMelo and Zion or Dame and Zion in that case, right? If you're Portland, you're trying to pair Zion with Dame. It's rumored that they would prefer Zion over Brandon Ingram. So I'm interested on your thoughts there as far as the idea of Zion fitting with Dame or Brandon Ingram, but then also Dame and Zion or LaMelo and Zion. And I know from playoffs and like competing standpoint, yes, Zion, you'd probably want to see him with Dame, but from an exciting and future of the NBA standpoint, where would you rather see Zion in those situations there?
To me, honestly, I think Portland gets his head on straight quicker. If that's the problem, or if it's just his health and he's actually doing all right mentally and all that. Like, I don't even know if I believe half the stuff that's coming out about Zion, first of all. Like, I think it's the legit health stuff that he's dealing with. And the other stuff is like, if he's got a bunch of kids out there, that's a problem. Like, don't want to be doing that. But like, I don't know if it's true or not, like, I don't know. Staying out of that basketball aside, like, I think Portland just gets him healthier, gets him just a much better situation for him. I think Dame is all in. Like, it's weird. Dame's like in the situation Bradley Beal was for the last 3, 4, 5 years. Now it's like Dame's finally vocalizing it. Often.
It is interesting.
So it's like, pressure's on, guys. If I see you draft somebody here, I'm leaving.
Straight up.
And it's like, what? Just tell them you want out, or just get on board. Like,
get with it.
It's kind of fun. Gives us something to talk about and get people excited about. But I think they're gonna try it. Like, I think they want to keep Dame there, so they haven't said like, we're actively shopping Dame, but I think that's also keeping him close for his value wise. And he hasn't tanked his value yet either. So that's impressive. But would you think he stays for Zion? I do. I think he stays for Zion. If he knows he's healthy.
Yeah, if you know he's healthy, if you can talk to Zion before, making that decision, and you get to talk to him and get that vibe that he's going to take it serious. Or maybe he has been, and it is just all smoke, right? Like, we don't know, like he said. But yeah, like, there's not a ton of better situations. Like, you would probably take Miami's situation with Jimmy, depending on what you have to give up. Because if you're giving up Bam Adebayo, and sure, you throw Duncan Robinson. I don't even know how the money would work in all the situation, like the package. But it feels like it would have to be Bam Adebayo. It would have to be Tyler Hero, right? You have to put together this monster package to get Dame to where you're basically gutting your team in a sense. Now, in that case, I don't know. Like, if you can just bring Zion in, if you can make the trade for Zion and then add, some other minor pieces in between there, I think I think I would do that. So, like, do you give up Anthony Simons and the 3rd pick for Zion? Like, is that what you have to do?
I try to just do the 3rd pick. I think that's
Right?
pretty fair, to be
I would
honest.
like
I think you can get
to
it
keep
done with that.
Simons in
But
that case.
yeah, if I have to, I probably would if I know Zion can start day
Like, if
one. If
that's what
his
you wanna
physical,
do, you wanna do it. It's not
yeah, if
that's
his
not gonna
physical
stop
checks
me.
out, right? But yeah, I mean, Simons is definitely more than a cherry on top. I truly
Right.
believe in Simons. It's like him and Dame is just another him and CJ again.
Yeah.
It's the other pieces as well, and uh, the health is a big thing there with Jeremy Grant and Dame. So I mean, they got a lot of talent, like
They do,
brewing. Like
man.
it's
It's
just
weird.
they need another big. Jeremy Grant is not nearly big enough.
Nurkic,
And it's
like,
like
what do
they're
you do with
still
him?
defensive shy. Yeah, like no matter how good Shaden Sharp gets, I mean, is he going to be anything on defense? Nasir Little, I believe, but like can't play them with those other guys. Like you have
Right.
all those other guys, so it's interesting. They got to fill out a 5-man that like they got an upgrade there, or else regardless, they're not good enough. So it's
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
Dame's not gonna be good enough when those other guys are gonna be good enough. So you got to decide now. I think it's great in the crossroads. So if I'm Dame, I'm trying to get to Miami, but don't know
What
where
about
else.
what about
Boston.
Milwaukee? What about Milwaukee? Is there, like, any world where Dame could get to Milwaukee?
Yes, if like
That would take,
Portland,
like,
you really
sign off from Drew Holiday, though, because he would have to
so
be in that deal, I would guess?
yeah, I saw a rumor that said Drew Holiday, like there's a deal in place from like a decent account, like that it's actually gonna happen. But I'm not like
Interesting.
willing to like
To
believe it
believe that's
100% or
gonna
anything.
take a lot
They said
of
it's gonna
moving
happen
pieces.
this week. Yeah,
What
there's
about the
quite a bit of
LA
smoke.
teams? There's no way the
I mean,
Lakers
both
can
of
get
them would
Dame,
want
right?
him.
There's no way the Lakers can, though, right? Like, unless they're giving up, like, Anthony Davis. Like, wouldn't that would have to be the deal, right?
Too late picks because I think they still have uh future first. I mean, I'd give up Anthony Davis for Dame. I would. But actually, nah, I don't know because I got Austin Reeves and
It's like you dream of having
like
Dame with Anthony Davis. Like, that would be the
right.
dream.
It's a 13 deal. Really, it comes down to Miami. Comes down to Philadelphia if Harden doesn't go back there. Boston. I mean,
Yeah.
I would love Boston. I think Jaylen
Yeah.
Brown for him even is worth it to try out. I don't know why Dame would want to go to Brooklyn. There's talk there. Other than that, like if you can get Dame to Dallas instead of
Mm,
Kyrie, that's
yeah.
preferred.
I love
But it's
that.
like, what are you getting back? Jaden Hardy and some picks? You might be able to do that. There should
If
be some
you
picks
are
available in Dallas there.
you mentioned Philadelphia. If you're Philadelphia, would you trade Maxey and Tobias for Dame? Like, is that like a no-brainer to you?
Yes. No. Maxi and Tobias. No, I'm not trading Maxi for. No. Nope.
Gotcha.
Not doing it.
Interesting. I
I'm
didn't know
not.
where you would stand on
I'm
that.
not
That's
trading
where I
Max.
stand. That's where I stand as well. I wouldn't do it. Especially if you
Too
can
much
bring
injury
Harden back.
history for me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's fair.
one, I'm choosing Harden over Dame. I still am just because of it elevates Maxi and Embiid more. Where
Yeah.
I think Dame takes away from both those two. I really do.
Yeah.
Um, and if you believe in Dame as the number one above Embiid, that's a different thing. Like I'm okay with that. I don't think it's clear cut. This is just
Yeah.
my personal beliefs.
Yeah.
But I'm also choosing if the choice is having to trade Maxi for Dame. No, I'm not trading Maxi for Dame. I think Maxi still has all-star potential to go here, and Dame's got 2-3 years left. And regardless, Maxi is almost there now.
Yeah, no, that's it's interesting. I didn't know where you would stand on that. Let me ask you this, just from a
It's
Sixers fan perspective, because I'm interested now. What is your and I know this is a loaded question. What is your ceiling for Tyrese Maxey?
top 20 player, like a little above what Bradley Beal's peak was, but close to Beal's peak probably. Different players, sure, but the type of player, that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable. Like,
Yeah.
I think Maxey, just the way he plays, I think he can still defend better. I think Nurse is going to get him to defend better, and I think he cares a lot more on defense than Beal ever did. So that matters. But like Drew Holiday, Beal, whatever tier that, like, that's top 25, top 20 player.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I would tend to agree there as well, man. Let's go on a little bit of a rapid fire here, just to end the show and kind of touch on all the rumors and topics of the off season so far. So I want to start with and let's do it this way. If you had to guess if they would remain on their current team or if they would be off of their current team going into next season, let's have it that. I want to start with Drew Holiday. He's been mentioned a lot on this show already, just between the two of us here. What are your thoughts on Drew Holiday? Do you think he's moved before the end of this offseason? And do you think that he and maybe this isn't a fair question to ask you. I'm just curious of your history of, following Drew Holiday. Do you think he has a real chance of retiring even this offseason or especially next offseason?
All signs.
You don't have
I
to
think he
answer that.
recently said it. No, I'll answer anything, man. He's recently said he still plans on retiring in the next few years. So that just hurts his trade value regardless.
Right.
But I'd put a 70% chance he's traded this offseason.
Interesting. So where would you say it would be an ideal spot for Drew Holiday?
Honestly, man, like the number one spot, like I'd like to see Drew Holiday, and I think the best spot for him if he has to go anywhere would be frickin' Dallas. Like he's the perfect running mate next to Luka.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking Dallas. Drew Holiday next to Luka.
Outside of that, I mean, he's a guy that fits anywhere, really. I mean, Philly, Miami, New York, and Indiana, if he can be talked into that. He's just a guy that likes big cities, though. I think that's important to him. I think he's pretty picky, so he's not going to be sent to a small town place unless he really likes one of the dudes there. His brothers played in Indiana. Maybe they talked that up a bit, and he wants a big role for a couple more years. But Golden State would be another place. I really think Golden State's going to make a run at him. I really do.
That would be interesting. I love that fit next to
Pool plus.
Yeah, that makes sense for Milwaukee in a sense as well. You get a little bit younger. Draymond Green, does he stay on the Warriors this season? Obviously, there was reports today that he's opting out of his contract with them, becomes a free agent. Do you see him in a Warriors uniform next season?
I would say 40% chance he's gone. I still lean towards he'll stay just because they'll pay him more. But I don't know. I see a team like Dallas really paying up if they could find the money, which I think they can there. Got to look at the cap sheet, but they would be my pick number one. That'd make the most sense. Like LA, of course, the connection with LeBron. Anywhere you can get closer to giving him back massages on the daily, Where else? Like Sacramento, if it can keep the shooting alive in the roster, would be nice to have there. Don't know if Draymond would love that, but I like that a lot there. I really do.
Is there any random team that could just come and give him the bag in your eyes and just steal him away? Like give him more money than what maybe he deserves? Do you think Draymond's that type of guy?
I wouldn't, but I think there are teams that would. Yeah, I think there are plenty of teams like Detroit could do that, like trying to establish a culture. That's his home state, man. Like I could see him maybe wanting to do that. Like, D-Rab just said, I think Draymond's a money hungry dude too. Like He's won his titles. Like, I think he'll go if it depends how big the money discrepancy is, but I think it's going to be big. I really do. I think he's going to have options to play for a shit team. And my guess is he chooses that shit team.
Interesting.
It's just how big is that money gap?
So how big is the gap?
I keep it at 40%.
That's interesting. Draymond. I do like the Dallas fit, all honesty. I do love that fit. Cat, your guy Cat.
I would love to see him anywhere else just to see what. So, Cat, man, get him the fuck knife. Get him out. Get him out. I bet you got a bag of chips, Tobias Harris, huh? Yeah, shoot.
Would you really do it for Tobias Harris though? Like, are you that low on Cat?
No, dude.
Dude. I'm with you, man. I'm not selling them that low.
I might go low for Porzingis plus, though. I might go that low.
Yeah. Yeah, less money does similar things.
I hate saying.
He's a better rim protector. I mean,
if we could add like a Kispert to that might be just enough for me to say yes.
I don't despise that for you. I think that's all right.
I like Toronto. I like Atlanta. I've been saying it for years. What you're not going to do, though, is talk me into DeAndre Ayton plus. That ain't
happening. Toronto. So would that be OG Anunoby? Is that who you would want returning in a deal like that?
I'd want Siakam. He's my guy. Siakam first and foremost. But
fair enough.
OG would be ideal, too. I'd give me OG and Fred. Shit, that feels good.
Siakam, you mentioned him. Is he on a new team next season?
I think there's a better chance OG is. I think they're finally gonna have to. I would be shocked if they just ran this thing back again. I think Fred will end up back there, even though unless Fred really wants to change the scenery, I'm not sure he does. But if he dipped down to 25, I think everybody and their mother would want him. But OG, on the other hand, I just think they got to just capitalize high on him because the dude hasn't developed playmaking, he hasn't developed ISO scoring. It's like
seems to be is what he is type of guy.
He's just not that guy.
Yeah.
Right. So go get all the picks for him. You can get more for OG Anunoby right now than Bradley Beal did. Like what? Like,
literally, that's what's crazy about life right now. That's what's crazy.
Like Patsy Val just going backwards, so will his. So
exactly. Next, Kyrie Irving, and then we're gonna finish out with CP3. Kyrie Irving, is he on the Dallas Mavericks next year?
Gosh, it's looking like that's the only suitor. It is. I think, dude, like sign and trade Kyrie for Drew Holiday. Why not? That sounds
no brainer, right?
I would love that.
No brainer for both sides. I would say. I would love that.
Yeah, no, it would be. And just because you got room for a gap there in Milwaukee and just the upside, I don't see why not. Because you've seen Drew strike out a little bit. But other than that, the Lakers and maybe Houston, I'd seen a little smoke on Houston. I would laugh hysterically if Houston says yes, but like they'd be fun. He could ball
no to
there.
Harden, yes to Kyrie.
It just would be can't get Harden, so let's go get the guy that plays lesser games and doesn't do anything we need, just takes away from our best players, and that sounds great idea.
What about finally?
What would you like? Where would you like Kyrie? Milwaukee?
Kyrie?
Lakers?
Milwaukee is a good spot. I mean, the Mavericks isn't the worst. I think the Mavericks could do better as far as fit next to Luka, though. But it wouldn't be the worst for Kyrie. Milwaukee, I mean, not that I think that that's realistic, but that would be a great spot for Kyrie to play next to Giannis. I think that would open up doors for Kyrie, honestly. You think about what Drew is asked to do in that offense. Kyrie could do that to a T, if not better, right? So you would lose on defense, but you would hope that Giannis and maybe signing Brook Lopez back and maybe, make up for that. But yeah, I think it's a no-brainer from Milwaukee side as well. If you're moving from Drew Holiday anyways, why not for Kyrie Irving?
Yep.
Lakers makes sense. Clippers is interesting. I mean, that if that's possible at all. It's interesting, but
am I
you're
crazy
talking
to
about
say I
him
want
with
Austin Reeves over Kyrie?
Paul George and Kawhi injury history plus Kyrie. I don't know about that. LA Lakers, yeah, it's interesting, but do you go CP3 route rather? Cheaper, you know what I mean? Brings experience. I don't know. What do you think about CP3?
First of all, give me Austin Reeves over both. Give me Austin over both.
Fair.
For his price, and I just think Austin Reeves is good enough to say that at this point in time.
That's fair.
That could look ugly here coming up, but he's not TJ McConnell. Get that out of here.
Yeah, I agree.
But Chris Paul still got the name. He's going to have a low price tag. He'll probably be a debate. I think Kyrie is still the option over CP3, depending on his price tag. But I think CP3, like Boston, you guys, if Harden somehow spurns to Houston, both LA teams are probably the most ideal or realistic, you can say. Yeah. I think he likes living out that way. I think even with Westbrook, I think they'd even think about having them both. I mean, just because everybody's always injured. They just want as much depth and talent, and that's the way they roll out there. But I think Austin and CP would play next to each other anyways, and just have the most expensive six man in the world and D'Angelo Russell. Why not?
Ain't that the truth, man? I'm with you though. I think CP3 in LA makes sense. Either team. It's going to be an interesting offseason though, man. I do got to get out of here. I got to get you out of here tonight, man. I don't want to take up your whole night like we always do. But as always, thank you for joining me on Scotty Talks NBA today, my friend Zach. Guys, be sure to give Zach a follow at Zach Noble on Twitter. Be sure to subscribe to the DSM Media YouTube channel, and be sure to follow DSM Media on Twitter at DSM_media. Once again, thank you, Zach, for joining the show. And thank you for everybody that tuned in this evening. That's going to be it for this episode. Peace.